Hi everyone! Today I'm here again with a 3-book wrap-up video. So obviously self-explanatory, these are the 3 books that I read recently. So let's talk about them. So I'm sure you've seen from the thumbnail, but I've got here The Girl from Widow Hills, Pines and The Girl in the Walls. They all, funnily enough, have really similar colour scheme. They're blue, dark blue, sort of black. That was definitely not intentional, but sure, I like the colour scheme there. So I'm going to be talking about them in the order that I read them. So the first one was Pines by Blake Crouch, which is a Wayward Pines thriller. So Blake Crouch, I read his Recursion and Dark Matter, which both were absolutely great. I really enjoyed both of them. They were like sci-fi sort of thriller. So when I saw this one in one of the bookshops, I think I bought it in Mr. B's Emporium, and thought, ooh, I'm gonna give it a try. So I did. And at first I thought it was just gonna be like a normal thriller, nothing sci-fi-ish about it, but I was slightly wrong. There is a sci-fi element, but it's only the first book in a trilogy. So I better tell you the plot of this book. This book is set in this tiny town where life is perfect, everything seems to be perfect. We follow this main character who is a secret agent, federal agent, and he's there on a mission to find two of his missing colleagues. So one day he sort of wakes up with no ID card, no wallet, and staff, like medical staff, seems really friendly, but something seems to be off about this town. He's obviously trying to find out what's happened to the missing colleagues, but also what the hell is going on in this town. The beginning was interesting, intriguing. There were questions like what's happened, because it starts with no spoilers by the way, but it starts with a car accident. When the main character wakes up from the car accident, that's when he wakes up with no wallet, no ID card or anything. So he can't really remember. I think he can't remember many things. I can't remember whether he can't remember. At the beginning is definitely really intriguing. You are being thrown all of these different things that the character doesn't seem to remember, and you just wonder what's happened and like what's going on in town in general. So always like more mysteries sort of thrown in there. So there are quite a few questions. But also it felt a little bit slow, like more than half the book it felt like not much was happening. And I do understand that it's a trilogy, but I thought going into it, I did think it was just going to be a standalone. So I didn't somehow realise that was going to be a trilogy, even though it does say Wayward Pines thriller, which normally means there's more than one. But anyway, that's beside the point. So I was kind of bored at some point, and when I had like probably about this much left, I think, or maybe a little bit more like that, I thought about DNFing the book, but I decided to proceed with it, and oh wow, I was glad I stayed on with this one. This is definitely one of those instances that not DNFing a book actually helps. That was a receipt that fell out. But yeah, so not DNFing a book actually was a great decision, because honestly it was worth it. The last however many pages, that was 100 or so, it was worth it because there was a new element introduced into it that made so much more sense, and you kind of got some answers. And again, one of the times when Blake Crouch sort of blows your mind with some things, and I think this happened in this book as well. But you have to proceed and carry on reading to find out what exactly happens. So yes, that bumped it up to 4 stars, whilst the first half of it was genuinely like a 2-star for me. But I was glad that I carried on, and now I definitely want to carry on with the series, but for some reason I can't find them in the UK. I had to order them on eBay from the United States, so now I've got one of them, and one of them seems to be either lost or still on the way here. I'm not too sure, so you'll see that in my book haul by the way. But yes, I definitely look forward to reading the second one. Obviously I can't tell you what exactly is this element that made me interested, but it was a sci-fi element kind of that made me interested in the book and made me really want to read the second book. So yeah, but it was a good one, and I definitely now know that Blake Crouch is one of my favorite authors, and I think I will be reading anything that he ever writes maybe, but I think he's got a lot of books that I could catch up on. But yeah, the first book is not exactly action-packed. You've got so many questions, you don't get many answers, but it's just interesting because the town, there is something going on in the town in general, and with some of the residents as well. It's a little bit sinister in some places, and we don't know what's happening, so we only start to know by the end of the book. So I think the second and third books are going to be great. Hopefully there's going to be hopefully so much more of that sci-fi element in there, so much more exploration in that kind of direction, which is actually quite an interesting concept, which again I can't really talk about because spoilers, but I think it's definitely worth checking it out. And Blake Crouch is an amazing author that can definitely blow your mind. The next book that I read was Girl in the Walls by AJ News. This is a rather beautiful edition. It's definitely gorgeous. It's got that on there, and my edition is also signed, which is always lovely. But going into this book, I thought that it was going to be more like a gothic novel, which the premise does sound more like a gothic novel, but I was wrong. So let's tell you what the plot is about. I'm going to read you the blurb because it sounds better. Elise knows every inch of the house. She knows which boards will creak. She knows where the gaps are in the walls. She knows which paths can take her in, hide her away. It's home after all, the home her parents made for her, and home is where you stay, no matter what. Eddie calls the same house his home. He's almost a teenager now and must no longer believe in the girl he sometimes sees from the corner of his eye. He needs her to disappear, but when his older brother senses her too, they're faced with a question. How do they get rid of someone they aren't sure even exists? And if they cast her out, what other threats might they invite in? So it sounds like a gothic novel, but it's really not. There's not much. I mean, yes, sometimes it's kind of creepy because it's genuinely the girl who genuinely lives in the walls, and she lives in a house with a family. The family are not aware that she's still in the walls. Genuinely, she's not a ghost or anything. She genuinely lives there in the walls. So you would have thought it's a gothic novel, but it's not. The thing that I did like about this book, I do enjoy books that are from a perspective of a child, because I feel like their mind, or at least how authors put books like that, their mind is always different from adults. Obviously they see the world in a different way, which is always more like, I don't know, it's like a kinder world. They appreciate little things better and they see things differently. Their imagination is better, so I always enjoy a child's point of view. So that was definitely one of my favorite aspects of the book, and how she went on about her day, all of that. For some reason I did find it almost like cozy, but there wasn't anything gothic or particularly mysterious or suspicious about it. There were a few moments when I felt a little bit like almost spooked, but there's nothing like that. It's not a paranormal thing or a ghost story, so if you think that going into this book, then you will be disappointed. But there's not even really that much plot to it, so I gave this one 3 stars because of that. So it did feel slow, there's not much happens. It's literally about a girl who lives in the walls of this house, and a little bit about the family who live there as well, but from the girl's point of view, how she sees them, what they do, how their relationships in the family are and stuff like that. So it's not anything sinister whatsoever, so there's that. But yeah, I wasn't a big fan of it. I was sort of disappointed going into after reading it, because I thought it was going to be more a gothic novel, and I thought there was going to be maybe some sort of ghost story, but it wasn't. It's a contemporary novel essentially with not much plot. But it's not to say it's a bad book. If you enjoy, like, I don't know, slow burn books, maybe you will enjoy this one. I'm really not selling it, am I? But I did give it only 3 stars, so it wasn't anything particularly great, to be honest with you. So yeah, And the last book that I'm going to be talking about today is The Girl from Widow Hills by Miranda, which is a thriller from a box of stories. So when I got a box of stories summer box, I only chose the one with 2 books. I did not know what books there were going to be, so this is the thriller one, and it was a really good one. It did take me by surprise, because you never know with the books that you don't know what you're buying. Essentially, you never know what they're going to turn out like, but this one is a good one. So in this book we follow our main character who, when she was 6 years old, she was swept away in a storm and went missing for days, but then a few days later she was found alive, just clinging to a storm drain. So now, years later, she's sort of followed by her past. She's now given a new name though, but she had these different threats and stalkers and all of that stuff, and now she also have these night terrors, which means sometimes she wakes up somewhere else. So basically she sleepwalks, which I think added a creepy element to the book. That was definitely an interesting one. And then also one day she finds a dead body in her yard. So yes, this book, like I said, really took me by surprise. I gave it 4 stars. It was really interesting. The plot kept moving all the time, which was good. So it wasn't exactly like a fast pace, but it was just a well-paced novel. It wasn't slow, it wasn't too fast, it was perfect, I thought. And our main character and her relationship with different people as well, I quite liked her. The twist that happens at the end, I definitely did not expect that at all, so that was definitely a surprise, which is always a great thing when you're reading thrillers. I think when you don't know what's causing this, what the dead body was all about, I really enjoyed it. The plot of this book is great. I did like the atmosphere as well. It was even like creepy in places, because things would happen and you didn't know the answer to it. You just had to guess. My guesses were wrong. They were definitely wrong. But honestly, the sleepwalking element just added the mystery on top of that, and that was brilliant. I definitely enjoyed it, and I would definitely recommend this book. So yeah, hopefully that was deep thoughts enough or not. But yeah, so these are the 3 books that I read recently. I have since read 1.5 other books, so soon I'll do another video on those other 3 books. But at the moment, that's it. Please let me know in the comments if you've read these books and what you thought of them. So yeah, if you like this video, please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye!